something in the kitchen the other day.
Granola.
Ooh.
Homemade granola. Now, we have, over the past, really, actually, I've never done it baked. I've always just done it in the dehydrator. But I think this time I might divide the batch in two and try some of it baked and some of it in the dehydrator. See how it works.
Oh, yeah. That should be interesting.
We'll also mention that today is one of the reasons why we are getting an RV and getting out of Dodge.
Very much so.
Crazy day. In Calgary just a few days ago, it was lovely, it was warm, it was above zero, the snow was melting.
I didn't even wear a jacket.
And then all of a sudden it just went and turned around and went down. I don't even know how much it went down. It was about
it plummeted.
plus 10 Celsius to around minus 17 Celsius in the course of about 2 hours, roughly.
Yeah.
And then it started to snow, and it hasn't stopped for a couple of days. So gives us a good reason to be in the house packing.
The joys of living in the foothills of the Rockies.
And speaking of packing, I think it's time that we went over your list.
Yes, my list. Yes, I have the list, and we'll discuss what's on it and what we're doing with it, and maybe even an update at the end on how we were doing. To prepare for this extended trip, it's overwhelming almost to the point of being paralyzing. I'm tackling it by being organized. You have to be organized. And I wrote a list. I have a book a friend gave me, and I started a list of things we need to get done. Well, actually, these are the cleaning out and packing ones. So it has something like this top one was clean out and sort hall closet. That's the upstairs one. And I've done it, so it gets a check mark. There doesn't seem to be a lot of check marks yet, but there is progress being made, I hope. Also, I have a list of before we go, things that need to be done, like phone plans, insurance for health insurance for clean travel, and insurance for the rig. We're bringing seeds to the States, so hopefully we can get them certified through the Canadian government. Axes and hatchets need to be sharpened. Camping equipment, we have to sort through which are we keeping, which aren't we. Then I have needs and wants for rigs. It's long. I don't expect we're going to get everything on that one. And more things for rigs. Needs and wants for us. It's rather short, but and boondocking sites, a little fun there. So that's how I'm dealing with it, so we can tackle it. You know, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I don't think we're on track to finish what we want to get done before we leave. It's just, there's a lot of stuff. One of the big projects that we have on the go is, cleaning up the house. We may not get it all done, but as long as we get most of it so that our son and his family can move in and have room for their belongings, that way I don't feel so bad, and that they won't be cramped. So the bedrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, and most in the basement, they need to be cleared up. Some things are going to stay. Obviously, we're not going to move the piano out of the way. Biggest problem, I think, is actually doing the work that needs to be done. Sorting through things, and I feel I'm not being as brutal as I should be, but I'm more brutal than I used to be. So that's kind of, but yeah, it's still a problem. Just too many things. We've been in the house since 1997, and the kids, when they got married, left their things. Only one has his things packed up, and they are in the crawl space already. What keeps me going is the prospect of leaving and going on this mega trip. That keeps me going. If I could tell anyone or give any advice for people who have this same dream that want to get on a mega trip and live in an RV, it would be do it. Do what you can. Plan. Research. You can take short trips, but really don't think you can't do it. I think there's progress has been made, even though my book doesn't have a lot of check marks on it. I see bare spots in the house. I see lots of things here. Behind me are boxes that are packed. And we also have boxes of things that need to be given away. We have boxes that have, because we're also putting things aside and collecting things for the trip, we have boxes with those items that we want to bring with us. So it looks chaotic, but I think progress has been made in getting to that end point. It may not be completely how I had envisioned when we first thought this, but it's going to be a good version.
This granola recipe calls for oatmeal, and we are going to make our own from whole oat groats. We use a flocker. Some people you will hear call it a flaker, others call it a grain press. We know it as a flocker. This particular unit that we have has both an attachment that we can put into our KitchenAid, as well as a manual attachment and a handle so that we can do this even if we don't have any power. So this is going to take these whole oats, we're going to put it through here, we're going to end up with oatmeal. What is really nice about this is that with this unit we can press any grain that we want. So for this particular recipe, we're also going to be doing some pressed spelt and barley to go into this particular granola. Okay, I've got my 3 cups of rolled oats, and now I'm going to be adding some rolled spelt and some rolled barley. This granola also requires some whole wheat flour. I'll be making my own today. I use this wheat grinder or grain grinder. It's a Wonder Mill. I've been very happy with this. We've been using this one for about 15 years now and never had a moment problem with it. The only thing is when you turn this on, it sounds like a jet airplane is taking off. The first part of the ingredients include the 3 cups of rolled oats, half a cup of rolled barley, and a half a cup of rolled spelt, a half a cup of wheat germ, a half a cup of maple syrup, 1 cup of shredded coconut, 1 cup of sesame seeds, 1 cup of a mix of chopped almonds and pecans, half a cup of whole wheat flour, teaspoon of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 of a cup of avocado oil. Now this is just the first part of the recipe, because after we have this dehydrated and or baked, which I will talk about in just a few seconds, then we're going to be adding the dried fruit. Okay, all of this is just going to get tossed into a large bowl, and we're going to get our hands in here. I don't know if you've got kids, this is a great project for them. They love getting their hands into messy stuff. Maple syrup. It's a lovely mess. And here we go. Okay, once this is mixed, we have 2 options. We can either dehydrate this or we can bake it. And I'm going to split this batch in half, and we're going to do half in the oven, and we will do the other half in the dehydrator. The baked version is going to go into a 350-degree oven for 11 minutes. Then I'm going to turn it and bake it for another 11 minutes and let it cool. And the dehydrated version is going to go into the dehydrator at 145 degrees for approximately 3 to 4 hours. I will check it at the 3-hour mark. If it needs a little bit more, I will. And at that time, I'm also going to kind of move things around a little bit on the tray just to make sure that it's getting dried evenly. You will see a difference between the 2 products when they come out. We actually find they both taste very good. And for the dehydrated version, obviously something that we could do when we're out camping, because we have the little dehydrator with us, where, as with a lot of the RVs we have discovered, the ovens aren't even big enough to hold a cookie sheet of this size. Okay, these are going into the dehydrator. And again, we've set that at 145 degrees for 4 hours. I'll check it after 3 and make sure that everything is good. And the oven version is going in at 350 degrees, and we will set our timer for 11 minutes. Sticky, sticky, sticky stuff. Canning jars are so handy. We already know what their amount is. This is the mango that was dehydrated previously, and I'm just going to be cutting this up into a little bit smaller chunks. Once the granola is finished either baking or out of the dehydrator, we let it cool, and then we're going to be adding some dried fruit. In this case, some dried mango, which I did earlier. That's a half a cup. We have 1 cup of raisins, a half a cup of dried pineapple, which I did earlier, and a half a cup of dates. And that's going to, hello. So this is out of the oven after 22 minutes, and you'll notice there's a few places right around the edge that got a little darker than perhaps we'd like, but the general quality of it is quite good. You can get bigger clumps if that's your thing. If you add a bit more maple syrup, I mean, there are a few clumps in this, but because we serve this as a breakfast cereal with yogurt, this is the consistency that we prefer. So we're going to let this completely cool, and I will get the stuff out of the dehydrator in a little bit, and we will take a look at that as a comparison. This was just after 3 hours in the dehydrator. It's perfectly dry and ready to go. And you can see kind of an immediate difference between this and the stuff that was baked. The baked has a bit more of a store-bought look to it.
Kind of a brown, really nice brown.
So we will do a quick little taste test of both of these, and then we're going to, believe it or not, just combine them and add the fruit to it. And then we'll taste that with a little bit of homemade yogurt. So, I mean, I guess for us, the preference has always been just the dehydrated one, but we've got a little bit of each. Here's a little bit of the roasted one, toasted one.
Quite flavorful.
Yeah, very deep, very rich. Oh, and who's here? Morrie, right here. Here, buddy. You want to try some granola? Of course, I didn't get you on camera. You're too short. Yeah. Preference?
Baked.
You like the baked one?
I like the baked. More flavorful.
Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, I like the one in the dehydrator. I think mostly because I know it's going to be used with granola. Okay. Well,
With yogurt.
or with yogurt, I mean. Yeah, the granola is going to be used with granola. The granola is going to be used with yogurt.
I've mixed mine.
Okay. Let's get this in the big bowl and add some fruit to it. And these silicone mats really come in handy for this type of stuff. Yeah, we got some nice chunks in there. Mango, pineapple. I'm also going to say, if you've never had dehydrated pineapple, it is actually worth getting a dehydrator just for that. Absolutely phenomenal. Of course, Mr. Guard Dog is making sure that the murderous plastic bag is kept at bay. Hey, perimeter check. Go check. That's a good boy. Okay, so there is our homemade granola, and we're going to grab our little bowls, and we will get some homemade strawberry yogurt and give this a taste test. I think we may have just come up with some new method here. Enough?
Yep.
I'll give that to you. And I'll go over in a future video how I make this stuff. This is homemade strawberry yogurt. I think I was a little skimpy on the granola here. All right, granola, homemade. Strawberry yogurt, homemade. Oh, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of our last big camping trip. We had this for breakfast probably 5 or 6 out of 7 days. I made pancakes and bacons and eggs at least once a week. Otherwise, we were breaking camp on our big cross-Canada trip. And so it would just be granola and yogurt first thing in the morning while we're getting ready to go.
It was store-bought yogurt.
It was store-bought yogurt. It wasn't homemade, yeah. This is way better. No, this is really good. Yeah, I can get used to having this for breakfast again every day. And those little pieces of fruit, all of a sudden, boom, you just get that blast of pineapple, that little blast of mango. That's really good. Okay, I'm gonna get this all packed up and we can do sort of an estimate of how much we've actually got here. So 2 packages, vac sealed. These will last for several weeks, although they won't because we will eat them. So this is about 2 weeks worth of granola. And with the homemade yogurt, which lasts about a week, I make a quart every week. So, you know, we're doing granola a couple of times a month, and I make yogurt once a week just to keep it nice and fresh. But it's a healthy alternative, and there is no magic to this. I mean, the thing about granola is add what you have available. If you don't have a flocker and you can't make spelt or barley flakes, that's fine. Then just use 100% oatmeal. You don't even need a flocker for your oatmeal. Just go and buy an old-fashioned oatmeal and away you go. You know, if you would rather have a different sweetener, I use maple syrup. You can use whatever you want, whatever dried fruits are available to you. We've also done this with dried cranberries. Very tasty. So whatever you have, you have. I will leave the notes for this particular method down in the description. And if you give it a try, let us know. But really, the trick here is to make this your own. There is no one recipe that makes the perfect granola. It's perfect if you think it's perfect. And that's it. So that's the end of this segment. Hope you enjoyed. Well, thanks for joining us for the episode. The granola was lovely. I liked the granola.
Oh, it was.
And you?
I liked the baked. It had, it was browner.
Yeah.
And it had a richer
flavor?
Yeah, richer flavor.
I still like the dehydrated stuff, I think mostly because I just bury it in yogurt anyway.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
Yeah, and you're making flavored yogurt, so.
And I think the other thing that I just wanted to kind of mention as we're getting out of here, this trip of ours, as we've mentioned, has been in the planning stages for many years. We've mentioned our big cross-Canada trip we did a few years ago, a test to see whether or not we were going to enjoy this.
How many years?
Before he came into our lives, yeah, the year before, and we've had you, Morrie, 7 years coming up in July.
It was seven and a half years.
Yeah, since we did that. But I think this is also kind of a big part of our retirement plan. I mean, one of the things that we've recognized, I mean, Libby was able to retire on her own terms, which was great. I, on the other hand, ended up finding myself as part of a retirement plan, as in we no longer need your services type of thing. And one of the things that has really come to mind for us is that having these big plans, having important hobbies, having things that keep you busy, having things that encourage you to get out of bed in the morning, having somebody like this guy who needs to be fed, who needs to be walked,
Who demands.
when I first retired, I really wasn't ready for it. I really struggled for a couple of years. But what motivated me to get out of bed every morning was the fact that this guy's whining in my ear wanting to go.
He's
So,
very kind about the whining.
so really, the other part of it was having the big hobbies. And I've got lots of hobbies. In fact, we'll talk about some of those in a future episode. But the reality is it's important to have things that motivate you to get going and to keep doing things. And in the process of downsizing, you've done a phenomenal job on getting our list together and getting us motivated to get things done. But this is also, it's part of a process in that we know that we want to get on the road and we know that it's necessary to get the house ready to go. So it gives you that motivation. I hate to say this, when I wake up early in the morning, I'm excited about getting down and opening boxes again.
It's like Christmas every day. Oh, look.
I forgot we had this.
Or where did we get this from?
Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for being along, and we'll see you again in a future episode.